So first impressions, they were made of me already when I was just a little girl. Dopplik. Dopplik? I had no clue what that meant. Now, if you're not from Lancaster County, maybe you don't know what it means either. Anyone not know? It's a Pennsylvania Dutch word that means clumsy. Now, the reason people had a first impression of me that I was Dopplik was because I had, wait for it, flat feet. Are you wondering how they knew I had flat feet? It was my shoes. Yeah, if you were a kid growing up in the early 60s, well, you had to get your shoes at a special shoe store. They were called corrective shoes. Now, the first time my mom took me to one of these special shoe stores, she was all excited because they told her they were going to fix my flat feet. I got excited when I went into the store because it was filled with all these shoes until I realized there was only one style of corrective shoes. Yeah, ugly. They were made of the thickest, toughest leather you can imagine. And you know how shoes break in a couple weeks? They made these shoes that they would never break in. And they'd always fit them to your feet, that they'd leave room for growth, which meant they were way too big. So for years I clopped around in these big heavy shoes. I swear they weighed more than I did. And every summer, when I jumped into the pool for the first time, my mom would run over when I would get out of the pool, and she would look at my footprint in the concrete. That's how she was judging year to year if my corrective shoes were working. Yeah, I'm serious. And every year, my footprint looked the same. Yeah, like a duck's. And she finally realized that these corrective shoes were not going to fix her child's feet. But it was too late. Those first impressions people had of me, that I was the Dopplik kid, well, that stuck. Now, the summer I was 13 and my sister was 12, we went to the swimming pool every afternoon and we hung out the low diving board with our friends. Now, that summer, everyone started doing backflips. I could do a backflip, but I was also the kid that got motion sick. Yeah, of course I was. So after the second flip, I was real dizzy, and I didn't want to be known as the Dopplik kid that threw up in the pool that summer. So I stayed with the jump that I could do better than anyone else, because you see, I was more flexible than everyone else. I could do a straddle jump when I jumped in the air. My legs went over my shoulders like this, and my toes came way up here and touched my fingertips. And everyone would say, "Wow, Marianne, you're so flexible. You look so graceful up there." Graceful? No one had a first impression of me before that I was graceful, so I did that jump about 30 times every afternoon, the whole year, because it made me feel good. Now, at the end of the summer, my aunt and uncle were camping, and our family went to visit on one Saturday, and there was a swimming pool there with a diving board. I couldn't wait to show my uncle my straddle jump. You see, he was my favorite uncle. But you see, people had a first impression of him that he had nothing important to say, just because he had a thick Pennsylvania Dutch accent and he just spoke using simple words. But he always made me feel good about myself and always made me laugh. So when I did my straddle jump that afternoon, he stood up and he said, "Holy shit, Marianne, you're flexible, cool." Yeah, he made me laugh too. And then my dad said, my sister, she did a perfect backflip, and my dad said, "Marianne, why don't you try a backflip?" I'm like, "Oh, I can do them, Dad." But they made me dizzy. Now, I guess my mom, in her own way, was still protecting her little girl with flat feet. But she said, "Oh, Marianne, no, don't do a backflip. You're too Dopplik." I was a teenager. I needed to prove to my mom I wasn't Dopplik. I wasn't that little kid anymore, clopping around in those ugly corrective shoes. So I marched out to that diving board. I turned around, but this time I spun around real quick. I got real dizzy, and when I came forward, bam! I hit my head really hard on the diving board, right here. As I went under the water, I was dazed, but aware enough that I still remember today exactly how it felt being under the water. My arms stayed by my side. I didn't swim to the surface. I just stayed under. Until someone grabbed my waist, pulled me up. It was my uncle. He swam me to the side, and I had dropped my head because I was so embarrassed. But he lifted my chin, and all he said was, "Marianne, you are good enough." My uncle probably saved me from drowning that day. And he saved me from those feelings I'd been carrying all through my childhood, from first impressions people had of me just because of my flat feet. So even though my uncle's words to me that day were simple, they have left a lasting impression on me. Because you know what? I am good enough being me, damn it. Flat feet and all. And I'm really hoping I don't trip when I walk off the stage. Thank you.